Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader Void Shadows DLC. All companion builds in a game for unfair difficulty. If it works on unfair, it will work on all other difficulties as well. My old builds for all companions in a game are now updated and they're valid for the end of 2024 and probably throughout the entire 2025. Before we begin, I hope you'll like and share this video as well as subscribe to this channel if you found it helpful. Let's not waste time. And let's go.
Are you ready for Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader? As I am. The Emperor protects.
The first one in line would be your seneschal Abelard Verserian. Abelard, as far as characteristics go, needs weapon skill, strength and toughness and nothing else. The most important characteristic would be toughness. As far as flat stats go, the higher the armor, the higher the deflection, the stronger Abelard is. Also, you should aim to go with as much parry as you can. That's how you play Abelard. As far as skills go, Abelard is great at athletics, carouse, and medice, and those would be the ones that you wanna level up wherever you can. Archetypes for Abelard. He's a classic warrior, turns into a vanguard for a complete tank, and at the end, with Exemplar, he becomes even tankier. He's there to soak up damage, he's there to buff up allies, and he's there to annoy enemies basically. Let's start with a warrior. On level 1 we get charge, level 2 we get athletics, level 3 we get endure, so we soak up more damage. We get level 4 daring breach, ulti, very good ulti. Then we're gonna get thick skin, more deflection, more armor. Then we're gonna get hardened scars. Then we're gonna get weapon skill. After that we're taking sworn enemy for even more tankiness. After that we're taking athletics into toughness, into better to die for the Emperor for even more tankiness and bigger resolve. After that we're taking carouse, then we take clenched teeth for extra deflection, then we're gonna take daring breach ulti upgrade number 1. After that we're taking invigorated hatred for the upgrade on a sworn enemy to become even stronger, then we take weapon skill. After that we're taking taunting scream to merge with the unyielding beacon passive that we're gonna take on a second archetype. Then we're gonna take dueling mastery. After that we're going for strength. After that we're going with carouse, dueling mastery of course because of parry. Then we're gonna take epicenter of slaughter, bread and butter for Abelard. The more he gets hit, the tankier he gets. Then we're gonna take medice, then we're gonna take strength, and for the final one we're taking it will not die. Extra hit points, extra wounds, extra health, call it however you like. And then we're gonna take daring breach ulti upgrade number 2. That would be warrior from Abelard. Then we're picking vanguard for the second archetype. Vanguard comes with the unyielding beacon, becomes complete tank, yeah. Then we're gonna take Wall of Rockreed, okay, and we get Wall of Rockreed is to buff up all allies with extra temporary wounds and so on. Then we're gonna take Chain Weapon Expert, because we're gonna play with a chain sword. Then we're gonna take Wall of Ferrocrit, upgrade to the Wall of Rockreed so it becomes even stronger. Then we're taking Unyielding Guard. Then we're getting the Power Spike with action points increase, going for Strength here, Strength again, into Enduring Shield for extra tankiness, into Defensive Stance for extra parry, into Carouse, into Counterattack Stance, into Common Feature, into Grenadier, free grenade throws, okay. Then we're taking Toughness, then we're gonna take Combat Master, no melee superiority bonuses on enemies against Abelard, then we're gonna take Resilient Beacon, so he receives less damage from crits. Then we're taking Athletics, then we're gonna take Weapon Skill. For the ulti, Unyielding Guard, we're taking upgrade number 1 in this case, then we're taking Renitent Beacon for extra armor and parry, then we're gonna take Athletics into Toughness, into Bulwark, into Covering Bulwark, upgrade for the Bulwark spell. Then we're taking Toughness, then we're gonna take Carouse. At the end, we're taking Beacon of Might into Swift Movements. Extra movement points are great on Abelard, so he can cover more ground. And then we're taking Ulti Upgrade number 2. After we're done with Vanguard, the final part would be Exemplar. Exemplar, we open up with Toughest Steel, so he becomes tankier, okay? And then we're taking Defensive Stance. After that, we're taking Athletics into Punish the Imprudent. Then we're taking Toughness. Then we're taking Common Feature into Toughness, Characteristic Training. More toughness, the better, yeah. Then we're taking Forceful Strike, although it's not needed. You can put something else as well, because if you play with a sword and a hammer at the same time, hammers usually have a push, or better to say Forceful Strike. But if you want to push with a sword, then you can use Forceful Strike, yeah. After that, we're taking Athletics. For the next one, it's very important that we take Steel Shell with the Exemplar talent to double the deflection. So 10 becomes 20 with all of the buffs applied and so on. It can raise up to 30, or in other words, Abelard at this point becomes indestructible. Then we're gonna take Taunting Defense for extra parry on a Vanguard. Then we're taking Toughness into Living Shield into Follow My Lead. It's great if you have a lot of melees in your team so they can follow up. Then we're gonna take Weapon Skill. Then we're gonna take Unyielding Resolve. Then we're gonna take Ready to Serve. Then we're gonna take Carouse into Flesh Wounds. Flesh Wounds merges extremely well with Toughest Steel, and it's extremely important for Abelard to become completely indestructible. Auto heals non-stop, plus his temporary wounds, plus a lot of tankiness means Abelard cannot die, especially with flesh wounds. Then it's the Power Spike action points increase into Disarm, into Carouse at the end here, Enrage, into Medicare, into Offensive Follow, into Weapon Skill, into Strength, into Medicare again, into Peak Condition, and this is where you get that extra strength from the Exemplar talent on Abelard. He hurts now when he strikes at the end game. Then we're gonna take Upgrade for his Brace for Impact, get into cover. Then we're gonna get Whirls of Endurance. Then we're gonna take Medicare into Easy Target, into Characteristic Training Strength. Then we're taking Force Distraction into Strength again, okay. Then Eager for Battle, extra action points at the very end. This is like for the final boss fight only. And then we're taking Contempt into Power Spike Increase. And that would be how you level up Abelard. Now what about itemization? Rogue Trader has 1 million trinkets, items, weapons, armor, and everything that you can think about, basically. So what is the best to do on Abelard? Abelard, when there are items that provide armor, parry, that boost any of his spells, like Taunt, like less action points on charge, stacks of Unyielding Beacon, that gives Athletics, that gives Carouse, that gives Weapon Skill, Strength, Toughness. Those are the items that you want to equip throughout the game, okay? You always want to have medkits, and you always want to have frags on Abelard. Now, this is how it should look like at the end game. So, buffy armor, huge deflection, that's the deal with Abelard. What I wear here would be Control Monocle at the end game. I wear Heart of the Nameless, I wear Auto Stimulant, okay. Then I was going with a God's Pendant here, then Radiant Gloves for parry reduction, so he can hit more often. Swashbuckler's Coat, again parry reduction. Unyielding Vanguard Boots for more stacks, better passive for the Vanguard. For the sword, Craven's Bane, and on the other slot would be Bone Cracker for push, shove, and huge area of effect damage. Again, what I said, any item throughout the game, because there's 1 million items, I can cover every single item on every single level that I switched, okay, it would be way too much, but Weapon Skill, Strength, Toughness, Armor, Deflection, Parry. That's what you want on items, or better to say, any item that enhances one of his skills, like Endure, Charge, those that are very useful, Sword Enemy, Unyielding Beacon, That's about it. Those are the items that you want to take on Abelard, and that's how simple it is. Again, how do we play now with Abelard? Usually, if enemies are tough, we go with in the middle of all allies in a group. There's like 4 times 3, I think, area of effect, so everyone receives brace for impact, raises deflection, and so on. You go with Endure, you go with a wall of Ferrocrit, because Rakrit becomes Ferrocrit, everyone receives extra wounds, temporary wounds, okay? You go into a parry defensive stance, you go into Bulwark, you go up front and soak up damage. That's about it with Abelard. On round 2, you can go with Charge, you can go with Sworn Enemy to focus someone out. If you have a lot of melees, once you go up front further with Abelard, you can always go with Follow My Lead, and all melees come close to Abelard for free, okay? Free movement points, basically, where they get to hit enemies for free. That would be Abelard. Next in line would be Sister Argenta, Argentina. What are the most important characteristics on Argenta? Of course, it's ballistic, then it's agility, and then it's perception. Those 3 are the most important. Everything else doesn't matter. What are the most important stats on Argenta? It's definitely dodge. Dodge is the most important. Everything else doesn't matter as long as you have high dodge on Argenta. As far as skills go, she is proficient at demolition and awareness, and you should stick with those 2 as well as Medicae. That would be this part. Now we go to the archetypes. Argenta is a soldier that becomes an arch-militant into exemplar. What do we take on Argenta for the soldier? Run and gun, into demolition, into revel in slaughter, into firearms mastery, into second skin. No penalties on medium armor for the dodge, very important. So she's tanky and dodgy at the same time. Then we take ballistic skill into nimble, extra dodge. Then we're gonna take ballistic skill again into bread and butter rapid fire. Then we're gonna take agility into bolt weapon expert, because we're gonna use classic bolters and heavy bolters. Then we're gonna take unfaltering fire, upgrade for the rapid fire. Then we're taking demolition into ulti upgrade number 3, into unpredictable, into agility, into dash, extremely important for repositioning, into awareness, into strength, into why strength I'll explain later. We need strength to carry heavy weapons. Then better to die for the Emperor. Then we're gonna go with a fired up. Then we're gonna take doing my part. Then we're taking it will not die, extra hit points, into awareness, into ulti upgrade number 2. After we're done with the soldier, we're picking up Arch-Militant. For the Arch-Militant, we start with versatility. The more versatile she is, single shots, into burst shots, into frags, into kick, into this, into that, as long as you switch against stacks, the more pain you deal. Okay. From versatility, we're taking the best, absolutely the best skill in a game for Argenta. That would be Wildfire, 3 shots. Then we're gonna take Flash Fire, upgrade for the Wildfire. Then we're taking Steady Superiority. Then we're gonna take action points increase into ballistic skill, into always ready to reduce those stacks of versatility so she hurts more often. Then we're taking ballistic skill into devastating attack, some crowd control, single shot target. Then we're taking heavy weapon proficiency. This is the time where we're gonna equip a heavy bolter. Then we're taking demolition. How you equip heavy bolter? By trading with factions that have early heavy bolter. Find heavy bolter and invest into it if you wanna play with Argenta. After heavy bolter, we're going with demolition into breaking attack and upgrade for the devastating attack. Then we're taking agility into overpower, into heavy gunner. Reduce action points when shooting with the heavy guns. Then we're taking demolition into agility, into steady superiority, ulti upgrade number 2. Then we're taking awareness into adaptability, into strength, into breaking point, into kick. Kick is extremely good on Arch Militant. Whenever someone gets close, you kick them, and they're far away from you. Now you can shoot them freely, yeah. Then we're taking distract, then we're gonna take perception, then we're gonna take awareness, into critical versatility, into perception, into another one in perception, into grenadier for the free frags, and then ulti upgrade number 4. Once we're done with Archmilitant, we're going to the Exemplar. The very first and the most important one for Argentina would be Cataclysm. Insane amount of damage. Then we're gonna take Muzzle Velocity. Then we're gonna take Demolition into Martial Art. Then we're taking Agility into Swift Movements. Then we're taking Entrench into Demolition. After that, it's Pinpoint Accuracy to ignore some deflection on enemies. Okay, it's very important. Into Accustomed to Glory. Next one would be Agility into Swift Slaughter. After that, we're taking Reckless Rush into Toughness. Then we're going with Dependable into the Emperor Protects. She has a chance to completely ignore any attack. Then we're taking Awareness into Extermination. Then it's Action Point Increase Power Spike into Enough Bullets for Everyone, into Awareness, into Wreck and Ruin, into Lore Imperium, into Discipline, into Ballistic Skill again, into Medicae. Critical Velocity, then Rapid Reload, then the Exploit Weakness, then the Medicae, Preferred Targets, Ballistic Skill Characteristic Training, Confident Approach, Toughness again, Perfection Under Fire for the last Exemplar talent, into Camaraderie, and it ends with Action Point Power Spike Increase. That would be the archetypes and how you should level up Argenta. Now, what about itemization? Any item that gives Argenta chance to hit, chance for crit, critical damage increase, or that upgrades one of her abilities, Burst Fire, or Dash, or whatever, is the items that you want to equip on Argenta. What I had for the mega late game, I had the improved Heavy Bolter, and I had They Shall Weep Bolter. There's a lot of great bolters that you're gonna use along the way. I kept most of them, I guess. So I was playing a lot with Hymn of Vengeance, then you start with Valor, then you go to the Precise Bolter, then you go to the Hymn of Vengeance. As far as Heavy Bolter, transition from Heavy Bolter into improved Heavy Bolter. Those would be the weapons for Argenta that you're gonna use on this run. This is Bolter Argenta, and you only use bolters, and you hurt like crazy. And she's like in a picture, yeah, no freaking flamethrowers. Although they're very valid if you decide to play with flamethrowers, but it's a different build up. What we wear on Argenta: criticals, okay, armor, perception, better chance to hit. She cannot die. Iron Cape is absolutely great. Once she dies, she returns back with 50% of her maximum life. Then we're gonna take the best one. It's Blessed Bolter Casing. Once you find it, all single shots out to hit. There is no chance for enemies to dodge Argenta's bullets. Then we're gonna take Military Combat Tool here. Versatility, okay, from the Archmilitant. We're taking bracers for extra critical, extra ballistic, and we're taking the hit chance with a Cape of Righteous Fury, and war boots for extra dodge. That's about it. Again, most important: dodge, crits, critical chance, critical damage, ballistics, demolition. That would be Argenta in short. Now, what do we do with Argenta and how do we play Argenta? Early game, when you're a soldier, you shoot, you use running gun, you shoot again. If enemies are tougher, you open up with rapid fire, shoot into burst attack, you go with running gun, single attack. If you kill 2 enemies, revel in slaughter, reposition with dash. Later on, all that I said, only add wildfire on top of it so you can shoot 3 times. That's about it. Mega late game, Reckless Rush. You always open up with Reckless Rush. She gains like, I don't know, 30 movement points. It doesn't even matter. You can reposition everywhere, and then you do Soldier combo into Archmilitant combo. You can also do the trick. Once you exploit everything, kick is gonna be free. so you can dash into enemy when you're out of action points, okay, to shoot. You can dash into enemies and kick them for the end. That's what you can do with Argenta. When do you use Furious Recital? As soon as you can. Okay, you want momentum, you want ulti. So try to use this one whenever there's like 2 or 3 enemies around her. Go for it. In this case, we have Idira Tlas, Psyker. What are the most important things on Idira? As far as characteristics go, it's willpower and then it's perception. And mega late game, it would be intelligence. As far as stats go, you only care about dodge. You do not care about anything else. As far as skills go, awareness and logic are the way to go. Everything else doesn't matter that much. And the most important thing is to raise the Psy rating as much as you can if you want Idira to hurt. She is a mage, okay? Classic damage dealing Psyker with solid amount of debuffs and AoE buffs. How do we play Idira? She starts as an operative, goes into Grand Strategist, so she always plays first, ends as an exemplar. Let's start from the operative. We take analyze enemies, into awareness, into expose weakness, dismantling attack ulti, into warp minds, into perception, into nimble, into predicted downfall, then we go for perception again, then the sensory deprivation, then we're gonna go for awareness, then we go to better to die for the emperor, then we're gonna take psychic barrage, then we're taking dismantling attack ulti upgrade number 3, then we're gonna take logic, into willpower, into psyker minoris, into tech use, into foreboding, into it will not die, then we take mind siege, then we're gonna take intelligence, into intelligence again, into fate bringer. So as you can tell, purple everywhere. We want psychic abilities maxed out on Idira to prepare her for the next archetype. And then the last thing would be dismantling attack, upgrade number 2 for ulti. So we're taking upgrade number 3 and upgrade number 2. After we're done with the operative, we take Grand Strategist, so Idira always plays before enemies. And here we get with combat tactics, we learn pre-science skill, then we take aftershock, then we're gonna take and hold. Then we get the action point increase, power spike within willpower, Psyker Majoris is next one, then it's willpower again, and then it's bread and butter skill on Idira, Psychic Assault, AoE, huge damage dealing spell. Then it's Lord Warp, then we're gonna go to the Visions of Doom, into Willpower, into Second Sight, into Edge of Fate, then we take Intelligence, Awareness, then Ulti, we take and hold upgrade number 1, into Mental Breach, into Intelligence, into Perception, into Awareness, into Precognition, then we're gonna take Psyker Terminus, then we're gonna take Advice and Guidance, then we're gonna take Logic, into Perception, into Ballistic Skill, into Grenadier for a free frag, into Thriving in Peril, and we finish everything off. We take and hold ulti upgrade number 4. After we're done with the Grand Strategist, it's time for the Exemplar, where we're gonna take Combat Meditation as the first Exemplar talent, raise willpower so she can hurt more. Comprehensive Analysis, into Awareness, into Weak Hearts. Then we take Willpower, into Swift Movements for extra movement points. Then we're taking Prophetic Intervention skill. Then we're going into Awareness, Malign Influence, into Psyker Extremis. Then we're taking Willpower, into Pain Channeling, into Perfect Timing, then Agility, into Obscured Threat, into Subtle Manipulation. Again, all purples as you can see here. Everything goes towards the Psyker. Then we're taking Logic, into Eager for Battle, extra action points, so we can cast more buffs and debuffs before we decide to hurt enemies, yeah? Then is the action point power spike increase, into Weak Body, Weak Soul, then it's Logic, into Instant Exposure, then Logic again, then we go with a Flawless Plan, then we go with Agility, into Intelligence, into Lore Imperium, into Perfection Under Fire, raise that willpower a bit further. Then we go with the Uncanny Sight into Unnatural Luck. Then we take Lore Imperium into Passive Learning, into Characteristic Training, into Willpower. We raise it even further. Into Mind Rapture skill, we take Agility, Know It All for the last thing, extra dodge, basically we get out of it and nothing else. Inflict Despair, and before the final boss, she's gonna get action point increase. That would be Idira. Now, as far as Idira goes, itemization, basically anything that's Hereticus in description or that has psychic powers, okay? Anything that's gonna raise psychic powers on Idira is valid to equip. You want staffs non-stop. In Act 1 you want one staff and a sniper, and then you're gonna opt in for 2 different staffs, staff on mind sight and detachment from that. There is also another great staff on Idira, and that will be Thought Guide. Decide which one you wanna play with, everything is valid basically. Even Shock and Ave is very valid on Idira. That would be the weapons, staffs, better to say. Why we don't wear armor? We don't wear armor because of the scarf. It gives extra dodge and psi rating is increased by +2. But before you find the scarf, you could play with light armor that gives extra amount of dodge, like the Chaos Body Glove or anything similar to it, okay? Amulet as well, before you get the scarf, anything with psychic or hereticus power, because she is hereticus, right? What we need on items is willpower, dodge. Very simple to play Idira. So here we get psi rating, here we get warp damage, here we get warp conductor gloves, increased psi rating, here we get extra dodge in full cover, here we get extra percentage to dodge, and that's about it. She's very, very simple to play. Now, speaking about simple to play, how do we play Idira? Idira, during her operative phase, is there to analyze enemies, expose weakness, and give dodge to herself or allies. Also, she's there to blind enemies. And if you can't reach with a Shriek as a classic basic attack, then you can reach with a sniper in Act 1. Once you reach Act 2, Act 3 and beyond, you're gonna go with double staffs, and then you will be able to reach everyone with a psychic assault. You can give willpower, buff yourself additionally with it, play earlier than anyone else. Grand Strategies into Precognition allows Idira to play twice during a round. Okay, that's very cool thing. And at the end there is Prophetic Intervention, Perfect Timing, all utility spells, Mind Rapture to crowd control and to buff your allies. Also, as she is a Grand Strategist, do not forget to use the front line, back line and rear, especially back line where Idira is, okay, for the extra dodge. And that would be that as far as Idira goes. She is extremely unstable and ungrateful to play because of the perils of the warp, where she can backfire with every single spell she casts. She can make herself literally unexisting, stunned. She can stun allies. She can do a lot of different stuff. So there is a payoff for her huge AoE damage and buffs, okay? It's Perils of the Warp. She's not stable at all. She's completely chaotic, but that's how it is if you want to play with Idira. In this case, we got Cassia or Celio, the ship's navigator, and probably the most OP companion in a game, and definitely the most unique companion in a game. She's a navigator, not a servitor. Let's start from characteristics. What you need on Cassia is extremely high willpower and nothing else. Everything else you should keep below 100 because of itemization, so do not pass 100 on perception or intelligence. This is extremely important. So, the main stat is willpower. The main defensive ability is dodge. You don't care about anything else, you only care about dodge. Dodge during combat will go up and above 500%. In other words, no one can touch Cassia. As far as skills go, you only care about lore, warp, and awareness. And those would be the two skills that you need on Cassia. Cassia is an officer that becomes a Grand Strategist into Exemplar. Why Grand Strategist? Because she always gonna play first. When Cassia plays first, combat ends in 1 round, even on unfair difficulty. Let's go with Officer. Officer, we go with Voice of Command, into Persuasion, into Bring It Down, into Finest Hour Ulti, into Inspire Courage, into Perception, then we're just taking Navigator powers and in this order, so she will get OP from the start to finish. It has to be in this order. So we take Pass Unscathed first, the Navigator power, then we take Perilous Ways, then we're gonna take Willpower, then we're gonna take Notch of Purpose, the skill of Navigator, then we're gonna take Ebb and Flow, then we're gonna take Bloody Augury, all of those are Navigator powers by the way, we take nothing from Officer, then we're gonna take Awareness, then we're gonna take Finest Hour, upgrade number 2, then we're gonna take Lore Warp, into Willpower, always Willpower whenever we can, then we're gonna take another Navigator power, Eye of Oblivion, into Perception, into Bread and Butter for the early game, which would be Point of Curiosity, then we're gonna take Mind over Matter, then we're gonna take Nimble, extra dodge, yeah, then we're gonna take Lore Warp, then we're gonna take Fellowship, into Strange Vitality, and the final upgrade would be Finest Hour, upgrade number 1 for Ulti. When you have these Navigator powers so early on, you're beginning Act 2 like this. In other words, Cassia will carry every single fight early game with this build. Now, speaking about mid-game, Grand Strategist. Grand Strategist, so Cassia always plays first. We do not care about combat tactics at all. What we care about are again Navigator skills and powers. We take Zone of Fear, into Open the Warp, into Ulti, into Action Power Spike Increase, Willpower, into Mastery of Time, into Willpower, into Waking Nightmares, so she debuffs enemies, into Lore Warp, into Tonicity, into Perception, then we're taking Threads and Faults, into Undam the Sea of Souls, then we take Perception, into Lore Warp, then we're taking Take and Hold, upgrade number 4, then we're taking the Course Untraveled, then we're gonna take Intelligence, into Intelligence again, into Awareness, into Boss Killing Spell, that would be Warp Cursed Unleashed, Navigator skill, then we're taking Guide of Souls, into Unnatural Allure, into Awareness, into Intelligence again, then we're taking Under My Protection Navigator talent, into Unblinking Stare Navigator talent, and we end up with Ulti upgrade number 3. That would be the Grand Strategist. By this time, Cassia is literally indestructible. And late game, Act 4, Act 3, Act 4, Act 5, Exemplar. We're taking Eager for Battle, where Cassia receives 2 additional action points. If you have an officer in your team, she can play like 3 or 4 times per round with over 30 action points with consumables combined. In other words, Cassia clears every single encounter on her own with Eager for Battle. Then we're taking Veil of Protection, into Lore Warp, into Stable Routes, into Willpower, then we're taking It Will Not Die, extra wounds, extra health on Cassia, then we're taking Immolate the Soul for the single target damage, then we're taking Lore Warp, then we're gonna take Combat Meditation, into Point of Interest, into Willpower, into Steel Resolve, into Reveal the Light, the first buff for your allies. Then we're taking Perception, into Fire at Will, into Characteristic Training, into Willpower. Then we're taking Awareness, into Malign Influence, even more Willpower with Exemplar, okay? Then we're gonna take Action Points Increase, into Blood of Martyrs, into Awareness. Then we're taking Heroism, Awareness again, Disputed Zone, into Intelligence, into Coercion. Then we're taking Flesh Wounds, so Cassia with her Navigator powers heals at the start of every round, and then she overheals with Flesh Wounds with 300 HP. She's literally indestructible, okay? That's huge self-heal. Then we're taking Iron Discipline, into Strong Point, into Coercion, into Decisive Response, then the Swift Movements, extra movement points for the end. Glimpse of Fate is the broken stuff for the endgame boss, where you're gonna get huge dodge, and then we're gonna take Fellowship, into Know It All for extra dodge, into lasting impression, and it ends up with action point power spike increase, and that would be Cassia. Now, itemization for Cassia. Basically, you want navigator items whenever you can, okay? Staffs, one should always be devastating. Okay, when you deal damage with Cassia, with damage dealing spells, you go with a devastating staff. When you wanna debuff enemies, you go with castigating staff. If you wanna play Cassia as a buffer, then you need an infusing staff. Now, what do I recommend? Devastating, castigating, or infusing? You should be mega aggressive with Cassia, and that's the best way. Infusing is if you want to play safe and keep your allies safe, if you play Cassia as a buffer. I'm giving you a build for Cassia that deals damage and debuffs enemies, so she is Omega carry. So Astronomical Regalia, even though it's the best navigator staff in a game, I still recommend Red Crystal Staff for devastating effects for Cassia to hurt, and I recommend Orselio Novator Staff when you wanna debuff enemies. I'll explain how it works a bit later on. So, after we're having Red Crystal Staff and Orselio Novator Staff, we want Dark Visionary Hood on Cassia, we want armor with dodge. It doesn't matter, there's like plenty of light armors in a game. The one which gives most dodge, that's the one that you should equip. As far as trinkets go, we definitely want Secrets of the Forerunner on Cassia, because it's extremely OP on her, and we want Chains of Domination for stacking willpower. As far as the trinkets go, I was using Demon Tool. There's like 10 different trinkets that you can use on Cassia, all of them are valid. Everything that increases her damage, increases willpower, all of that is valid on Cassia. But why I added Demon Tool now on Cassia? Because I was playing with Kibellah, and Kibellah loves enemies that are burning. So Kibellah, once Cassia plays as a grand strategist and burns everyone, okay, then Kibellah comes in with her stacking damage on burning and bleeding. Kibellah deals bleeding, Cassia burns enemies, and then Kibellah one-shots. This is new archetype in a game, so that's why I opted in for the Demon Tool on Cassia, because she covers the most ground with her AoE spells. It merges extremely well with Kibellah, and that's the entire trick with this item. For the gloves, again, any gloves that give any type of dodge, or in this case I gave her Inevitable Demise, you can equip whatever on Cassia. Truth to be told, she doesn't even need gloves. As far as cloak goes, flat dodge cloak, nothing to speak about it, okay? Whenever you see dodge, you want to equip that cloak on Cassia. And boots, expeditionary footwear, navigator boots for extra dodge. Again, that would be Cassia. You should always have a stim for extra movement points and action points on Cassia. Now, how do we play Cassia? Early game with Cassia, what we wanna do is use Notch of Purpose and Point of Curiosity, give someone extra turn, okay? And we always want to use Lidless Stare as AoE attack and target as much enemies as we can with Lidless Stare. Once you get the staff for devastating, then you're gonna be able to cast Lidless Stare twice. Okay, and if you have an officer, you can cast it 4 times in a round. So you should always position Cassia up front, because she's gonna always play first, and she's gonna deal crazy amount of damage. When she kills, she gains dodge, and then enemies can't hit her, and she's gonna soak up all of the hits. Everyone's gonna miss Cassia, and enemies will waste turn, at least those that survive. But in 90% of time, in 95% of time, no one will survive the first round against Cassia if built this way. So this is like not only the most OP companion and the most OP build in the game, she's completely broken as well with this build. Again, she clears everything and everyone, and no one can touch her. She's like a cheat code. So that would be the early game. The late game, she becomes even more OP, because when you see a boss, you're gonna put Waking Nightmare, but you're gonna put Waking Nightmare with Staff of Orselio Novator, and then you're gonna switch to the Red Crystal Staff. So when you wanna debuff enemies, you equip Novator Staff, you debuff with Warp Curse, Unleash, and Waking Nightmare. Then you switch to the Red Crystal Staff, and you're gonna use, if it's single target damage, it simulates the soul. If it's a lot of enemies, then it's Lidless Stare. At the end, you can always use Glimpse of Fate for extra dodge, and you can empower anyone in your team with extra willpower and toughness with Reveal the Light. That's how you play Cassia. Basically, I have nothing else to say about it. What you should do, as I said, when you see enemies on a screen, and when she becomes Grand Strategist, she always gonna play first. Just put her in the middle of enemies at the start of combat. She's gonna wipe the entire screen out immediately in the first round. That would be Navigator, Cassia, or Celia. Next in line is Kibellah, the Blade Dancer, Executioner, main assassin of the Bloodspawn Web. This new companion came with the Void Shadows DLC, and it has 2 different archetypes. Basically, Kibellah is a melee bruiser. What are the main stats on Kibellah? Main characteristics here is definitely strength, weapon skill, and agility. Agility being the most important one out of them all, so she receives huge percentage to dodge, and she relies a lot on parry. These are the characteristics that you want on Kibellah. As far as skills go, the main one is Medicae, because she scales heavily out of Medicae, and this is the one that you should max out immediately. After Medicae, we go with Athletics and Demolition. Kibellah is a Blade Dancer, Executioner, Exemplar. The Blade Dancer is the new beginning archetype. So it begins with a Blade Dance. On the next level, it's Medicae. Again, we scale off of Medicae. Then bread and butter skill, Death from Above. Then the best ulti in a game, in the entire game, belongs to Kibellah. It's Death Waltz. This is a boss killer, phenomenal ulti. It's absolutely insane, and I believe they're gonna nerf this one. The next thing that we're gonna take is In Footsteps of Death. After that, we're taking common feature Nimble for extra dodge. Then we take Agility again for dodge. Then we're gonna take Blood Oath, a new skill on Kibellah. Then Athletics, into Weapon Skill, into Blade in his hands, into Medicae, into Dueling Mastery for additional parry percentage. Then we upgrade Death Waltz with ulti upgrade number 3. This is extremely important. After that, we're taking a Death Warden, into Weapon Skill, into Acrobatic Artistry, into Rising Tempo, into Agility, into Athletics. Then we go with a Bloody Mess, into Awareness, into Strength, into Slip Away, and the final ulti upgrade is upgrade number 2 for Death Waltz. And that's how we finish off Blade Dancer. After that, we're taking the new archetype called Executioner. Executioner relies on damage over time combined with the Blade Dancer. It puts insane amount of damage and insane amount of attacks on Kibellah during her round. So she comes with a Forced Repentance, Scourging Strikes, and the keystone feature Where It Hurts. Again, this is all about damage over time. After that, we're taking Gift of Torment. On the next one, we take Acute Pain into Carnival of Misery. Then we're gonna take Action Points Increase, Power Spike into Strength, into Weapon Skill. Then we take Anatomy Expert into Reckless Abandon. Then we're taking Reprieve into Medicae, into Weapon Skill, into It Will Not Die for extra wounds, into Deep Laceration. Then we're taking Agility, into Medicae, into Carnival of Misery ulti upgrade number 3, into Battle of Attrition, into Agility. Then we take Demolition. Then we're taking Terrifying Strike, into Combat Master, into Does It Hurt. Then we're taking Strength, Demolition, Reveling in Suffering, into Strength, into Just a Flesh Wound, and at the end we finish with ulti Carnival of Misery upgrade number 2, and now she becomes an Exemplar, where we're gonna take Know It All as the first Exemplar talent. Then we're taking Race Against Death. Then we're taking Demolition, into Master of Torture, into Agility, into Dance of Thorns. Then we're taking Captive Audience, into Medicae, and now we're taking Eager for Battle for extra action points, extra pain, that you can deal. Then we're taking hardened body into agility, into facing the end. Then we're taking pain resonance with weapon skill. After that, everlasting agony into swift movements, extra mobility, medicae, into perfection under fire, exemplar talent. Then we're taking power spike, action point increase. Then we're taking it takes two, into demolition, into blood rush, into demolition, into open the veins. Then we take toughness, strength, demolition, peak condition for extra pain. Okay, strength equals more damage. Then we take guillotine. Then we're gonna take wrecking weakness. Then we're gonna take athletics, into unforgiving, into grenadier for some free frags, into Veil of Blades, into Strength, and we finish off with Toughest Steel, so she cannot die against the final boss with a grand performance, and the final one would be Action Point Power Spike. What are the items that we use on Kibellah? Everything that has parry, dodge, crit, movement points, medicae is the best freaking thing on items. Those would be the items on Kibellah. In one weapon slot, we're gonna dual wield swords, always swords. In this case, Whispering Mercy and Singing Retribution. In the other slot, we take a two-handed weapon, so we can switch between both. Depends what we need during combat. For the helmet, we're using Lingering Whisper. Then for the armor, there's a lot of great Dead Cult Assassin armors in a game. This is Bygone's Sorrow. There's bunch of them, to be honest. As you can see here, there's Silent Death. I also equip some on my characters as well. Basically everything that looks weird like this, high spinner armor and so on, all of that is valid on Kibellah, and everything that has dodge basically for armor. For trinkets, medicae flat, again medicae stacking. For amulet, Death Cult Assassin, Blood Blessed, temporary toughness for 2 rounds. Master Surgeon gloves, again medicae gloves, okay, heavy scaling out of medicae. For the cape, Swashbuckler cloak, so she receives extra chance to hit, basically she hurts more with this. And for boots for parry, fencing boots, because she relies on dodge and parry, yeah. As far as consumables, you always need to use her blood vial to spread blood on the floor, she profits out of it, okay. And stims, extra action points, extra movement points. Kibellah can easily cover 5 screens of movement points with her abilities and skills, because every time when you use a skill that deals damage to Kibellah, okay, she deals self-damage in order to buff herself, so she deals pain to herself in order to deal damage. Most of her spells do that. Whenever you use her spells, she gains extra movement points and she dances on screen, basically. That's why she's a Blade Dancer, yeah. Early game with a Blade Dancer. You go towards enemies, you use that from above few times, jump around enemies, hit them. You use Blade Dance, you hit them with a basic strike, and then you use Acrobatic Artistry to go back to your previous position. Once you want to burst out an enemy or a boss, you use that waltz. That's how simple it is. What changes later on in late game, you use Raining Blood, you use all of the self buffs, Carnival, Terrifying Strike, Reckless Abandon, Where It Hurts, Gift of Torment, everything that you have basically, you self buff, and then you repeat this combo down here. That's about it with Kibellah. Very simple. She, again, has the strongest ulti in the game with Death Waltz. This ulti can one-shot final boss on unfair difficulty, and it's probably gonna get nerfed. Kibellah is mega fun to play with. She merges extremely well with a Cassia build that I gave, okay, because of stacking burning and bleeding from both, and she's extremely strong, and I would say the third strongest companion in a game, and probably the strongest single target damage in a game. In this case, we got Pasqal, Magesh Pasqal, the best freaking companion in a game, and the funniest one as well. Pasqal is a boss killer, debuffer, buffer, AoE damage dealer, melee or ranged. He can be played in a lot of multiple ways. If you decide to play melee Pasqal, then it's weapon skill as the main characteristic. But in this case, the build that I give for Pasqal is ballistic Pasqal, that needs ballistic skill, strength, so he can carry heavy armor, power armor, perception, and intelligence. Those are the main characteristics on Pasqal. What about stats? Flat stats, we need everything on Pasqal. We need deflection, high armor, solid dodge, and great parry. As far as skill sets go, Pasqal is best at tech use and logic. After that, you can go with Medicae. Those three are a must on Pasqal. The primary one would be, of course, tech use. Of course, he is a Mechanicus Magus. Now, Pasqal is an operative that's gonna become a Grand Strategist, so he dominates the field and always plays first to cast all of his buffs and debuffs, and then he becomes an Exemplar. For the operative part, we go with bread and butter analyze, into tech use, into expose weakness, they still merge extremely well, into ulti dismantling attack, into passive learning, then we go with perception, into pinnacle of weaponry, into weak body, weak soul, into perception, into perfect spot, because this is ballistics Pasqal, into tech use, then we're gonna take uncanny sight, into dueling mastery for extra parry, into dismantling attack ulti upgrade number 3, then we're taking logic, into intelligence, into instant exposure, into Medicae, then we take joint analysis, into aiming protocols, into joint offense, intelligence, ballistics, and we end up, it will not die for extra wounds with dismantling attack ulti upgrade number 2. That would be the operative part. Now we switch to the Grand Strategist. Grand Strategist, he gets combat tactics, then we take kill zone stratagem, into inescapable zone, into take and hold, then action point power spike increase, into ballistics, into exposing communion, into ballistics again. Then we're taking overwhelming stratagem, into tech use, into persistence of the forge. We take ballistics, then we go with a plasma weapon expert because we're gonna play with plasma. Then we go with the overcharge protocols, into perception, into tech use, then it's ulti, take and hold, upgrade number 4. Then we're taking scanner mechindrite, into perception, into intelligence, into logic. Then we're taking stronghold stratagem, into manipulator push, into swift movements, extra movement points, into logic, into intelligence, then we take a bit of weapon skill, then we're gonna go with a grenadier, into nimble, and we finish off with ulti upgrade number 1. For the exemplar part, we open up with perfection under fire, then we take comprehensive analysis, into tech use, into machine spirit scan protocols, into toughness. Then we're taking Medicae Mechindrite, into precise attack, into tech use, and then we're taking eager for battle for extra action points, into filtering protocols. After that we're taking toughness, into fresh target, into combat locus stratagem with toughness. Then we go to the acceleration protocols, into characteristic training, into strength so we can equip power armor. Then we're gonna take logic, into know it all, into extra action points, power spike increase. Tides of excellence is next, into logic, then the sniper expertise, into Medicae, then we take utility mechindrite, into strength, then strength again, into Medicae, then we're gonna take pinpoint accuracy, into reactive study, then it's the fires of the forge, into Medicae, then we take sharpshooter, into power armor proficiency, and basically here we prepare for the final boss, for fights against Necrons and so on. Until this moment he doesn't need power armor. Then we're gonna take tactical advantage, into perception, then flesh wounds for auto heal on every round, then ballistics calculation, and we end up with action points, power spike increase. And that would be Pasqal leveling. Now what about itemization on Pasqal? Itemization is very simple. The better the Omnissiah X, the more damage he'll deal with melee. In this case we got Omnissiah Providence into any plasma rifle. There's like 1 million plasmas in the game for Pasqal, as you can see them all here. Every plasma. How do you pick what plasma you want to play with? The bigger the damage and the bigger the armor penetration, that's the plasma gun that you want to equip. Both plasma pistols and plasma heavy guns or light guns count on Pasqal. Okay, those would be the weapons. So for the helmet, we're taking enhanced data tether mask. Now what items do we want on Pasqal, by the way? Everything that enhances ballistic, toughness, strength, perception, intelligence, tech use, logic. Those are the items that we want to equip. Parry. So helmet, enhanced data tether mask, armor, power armor. Before that you're gonna use medium tech armor. Or trinkets, we're gonna use combat tools. There's plenty of them in the game. This is the highest one. For the other one, we take target designator. For amulet, warlord amulet, the best one on Pasqal that exists. For gloves, overcharged gloves, of course. Then we're gonna take mantle of extermination. Basically on gloves, everything that has some benefits on plasma weapons are those that you want to equip along the way until you get overcharged gloves. For the cape, mantle of extermination. And for boots, we're gonna take the Nemo boots for extra movement points, because Pasqal is quite slow and this will enhance his movement a bit. What do we do with consumables? Healing and stims for action and movement points. How do we play Pasqal? Early game when he's an operative, what we want to do is analyze enemies into expose weakness and shoot from a perfect spot. So you trigger perfect spot, analyze, expose, shoot, end up with joint analysis. Okay, later on when it gets tougher, you use machine spirit communion. When you see robots, you use machine spirit banishment. It's extremely good against robots. For the part where it becomes grand strategist, you place front line on enemies, you go with a kill zone stratagem, then you do the combo from the operative, shoot, and you're gonna hurt them even more. As far as later game goes, you can always heal up, you can shoot enemies under cover, and you can use tactical knowledge to become even stronger. That's how you play Pasqal. Basically, he is there to debuff and to deal AoE damage. That would be the ballistic build on Pasqal. It's extremely valid on unfair. There is no playing in this game without Pasqal, because he is the main skill checker in the game. Okay, all the skill checks belong to Pasqal, as I like to call him. Know it all Pasqal. Next in line would be Heinrix van Kellogg's, the Orthodox Xenos Inquisitor. Extremely good character, very underrated, and one of the most OP characters if played the right way. We start from characteristics. What is the most important thing on Heinrix? Definitely it's willpower and agility. Then comes the weapon skill, because we're gonna play Heinrix as a Psyker assassin in this build. He basically needs all, including strength, so to balance out Heinrix is a quite difficult job, but I got everything covered for you. What is the most important thing on Heinrix? It's his Psy rating. We can max this out up to 10, 12 for a companion. That's quite good, yeah. As far as classic stats go, Heinrix requires a lot of dodge and a lot of parry. Everything else doesn't matter that much. As far as skill checks, Heinrix is probably the worst skill checker in the game out of all companions, so don't rely that much on him. You can go with athletics, demolition, and carouse. He is Orthodox Xenos Inquisitor with very low basic Xenos, so unfortunately that's how things stand for Heinrix. He is there for combat, not so much for skill checks. Heinrix is a Psyker warrior turned into assassin, becoming exemplar. Let's go with a warrior phase. First we go with charge, then we take coercion, then we're gonna take endure, into ulti, daring breach, then we're gonna take defensive maneuvers for extra dodge, then we're gonna take rigorous training, into agility, into the first Psyker spell, and feeble. This one is extremely important, by the way. This is a huge debuff on enemies. The next one would be athletics, into agility, into poison, or better to say biophysical distortion. Toxic damage on Heinrix is quite good. Then we're gonna take athletics, into desolation, into ulti upgrade daring breach number 1 for extra movement points. Then we're gonna take open engagement, into weapon skill, into purge soul, into better to die for the emperor, into weapon skill. Then we're gonna take carouse, then we take nimble for that extra dodge, then we're gonna take carouse again, then we take toughness, into It Will Not Die, and we finish everything off with ulti upgrade number 2 for the Daring Breach. After we're done with the warrior, Heinrix becomes an assassin. For the assassin, he starts with a Seek the Opening into Elusive Shadow, then we upgrade Elusive Shadow with Elusive Speed, then we're gonna go with a Dispatch into Action Points Power Spike Increase, then into Agility, then we take Professional Acumen, then we're gonna go with Agility again, Athletics, into That Whisper, into Carmine Whisper, into Weapon Skill, into Psyker Minoris, then we're gonna take Perfect Opening, into Strength, into Athletics, then we're taking Dispatch, ulti upgrade number 1, into Psyker Majoris, into Esquive, then we're gonna take Weapon Skill, into Coercion, into one of the best spells mid-game, that would be Warp Speed, then we're gonna take Psyker Terminus, then we're gonna take Bringer of Doom, then Lord Xenos, into Inevitable Enervation, then we're taking Strength, into Psyker Extremis, and we finish off with ulti upgrade number 3 for Dispatch. From the Assassin, Heinrix receives his true power as an Exemplar, and he's definitely the most OP companion in Act 4, and in Act 5 as well. So, he scales up slowly, but once he scales up as an Exemplar, he really becomes absolutely great, starting from this point over here. As an Exemplar, Eager for Battle is a must. You need a lot of action points on Heinrix, because he's got a lot of spells and skills to cast during that first round. After that, we're gonna take Clenched Teeth, then we're gonna take Athletics into Deadly Calculation, then we're taking Agility into Blade of Light, and then the best freaking spell on Heinrix that you can take would be Metabolic Overcharge. After that, we're taking Athletics into Know It All, extra crit, extra parry, extra dodge, and so on. Then we're gonna take Killing Spree into Agility, into Ramming Speed, into Hammer of the Emperor, into Toughness. Then we're taking Lone Killer into Adrenaline Surge, into Demolition, Perfection Under Fire, Action Points Increase, Power Spike into Thick Skin, Demolition into Psalms of Heroes, into Demolition again. Then we're gonna take Strange Vitality into Willpower, into Toughness, into Demolition. Then we're taking Critical Velocity into Impetus, into Seize the Advantage. Then we're taking Demolition, Eternal Glory for extra tankiness. Then we're gonna take Grenadier for the free grenade at the end game. We're taking Sword of Fate into Strength, into Destroyer, and we finish off with Lethality Heightens with Action Point Power Spike Increase. Now that would be Heinrix. All of this looks quite strange, but once you start playing and once you equip correct items on Heinrix, Heinrix really becomes great. What you want on Heinrix in the early game are items that provide dodge with light armor. So you want boots for charge early game, for charge to cost less, and you want dodge on every single item, wherever you can take it, that is. Mid game, again, you want to upgrade Heinrix with dodge and with Psy rating as much as you can. Late game, it should look like this. There's a lot of great items on Heinrix. For example, if you go in a late game and now you want to switch armor and you're gonna take, for example, the scarf that gives Psy rating, okay, but you need to remove armor, then his Psy rating rises even further, as you can see here. If you want that extra dodge when the combat starts, you just need to remove armor. And now you got Heinrix that's gonna dodge a lot, and he is extremely powerful with Psy rating, and then he's got, through his talents, stackable Psy rating as well, so his spells will be absolutely insane as a Psyker Inquisitor. When he gets mad, he goes all in melee with a Triumph of Fate, and he's got knockback with the Foe Hammer. And you always want to open up with a Blood Drinker Staff. Now, a lot of people will say how the best one would be the Sanctic Righteous Fire Staff, because it gives, willpower, fellowship, and so on. That's just wrong, because this staff, again, gives Psy rating. And the Blood Drinker Staff is the best staff on Heinrix, and you should use the Blood Drinker Staff. You want Psy rating as high as possible. We'll explain why later on. So that would be weapons. Triumph of Fate, Blood Drinker, Foe Hammer. As far As helmet goes, increased psi rating. Then the trinkets, again, you can put a lot of different trinkets on Heinrix, a lot of psi trinkets and so on. But again, we're gonna take melee attack damage with the Hands of Offense, and we're gonna take Mystic Ward. For the gloves, classic weapon skill and strength, and for the cape, we will take Blessed Cape into boots with improved lightweight boots, parry, and reroll failed dodge tests. At this point, Heinrix becomes brutal, but you need to play Heinrix the correct way. Yeah, it's not only gear, so how do we play Heinrix? Early game, when he's a warrior, usually what you wanna do is stay behind, endure, debuff enemies with Enfeeble. From far away you can use Purge Soul, and you wanna charge into enemies once you have Daring Breach, so you can swing and attack enemies 5-6 times in a row. That's early game. Also, you can buff someone up with Iron Arm, and you should always open up fights with a Word of the Emperor. Mid-game, you always want to do all the combos that I said, but first you're gonna buff up with the Word of the Emperor into the Warp Speed, and before ending the turn, you want to keep one action point and use Elusive Shadow, so you dodge even more during enemy's turn. They're gonna waste rounds on Heinrix. Also, there are free attacks with a Death Whisper, which is extremely nice, and I would advise that you skip the Dispatch ulti and always use Daring Breach when you can. Aim for the opening is the way to open up fights in mid-game, so how it should look like basically. It's Word of the Emperor into Iron Arm, into Enfeeble, debuff enemies, into Warp Speed, then you go in Charge, okay? Aim for the opening, hit enemy, use Elusive Shadow. That's how you play with Heinrix. Mega late game, he receives the best freaking gear in the game. You should always have a staff equipped now, and you should not attack in the first round. You should just focus up on buffing up your allies and Heinrix. So how do we play him now? Word of the Emperor into Iron Arm, into Enfeeble, debuff those enemies, then Warp Speed, the damage dealer in your party. Then you're gonna use Hammer of the Emperor, extra damage, a lot of extra AoE damage, and you're gonna end up with Metabolic Overcharge on the companion that deals damage most out of all. For example, on Kibellah or on Cassia. When the things get rough, you always have Sword of Fate, and then you enter in with Daring Breach at the end game, and you hurt like freaking crazy. Heinrix is one of the best companions in the game, and Heinrix, with his Psyker combos, AoE buffs and debuffs, and single target damage, is absolutely insane if played the right way. There's like 10 different combo outputs for Heinrix. There's 10 different builds. You can go in full Psyker, full Assassin. I believe Mix is the best because Mix provides plenty of options during combat, and it keeps the entire team safe because Sanctic is just the best Psyker in the game, let's be real. Yeah, the next in line would be Jae Heydari. What are the most important characteristics on Jae? It's definitely Fellowship and Agility. Everything else doesn't matter that much, but you should aim to focus up a ballistic skill as well, cause she is there to shoot after all, as well as to buff allies as her primary objective. Yeah, she is a master tactician. So those three would be a must. What about defensive stats? It's only dodge, and that's the most important thing on Jae. Everything else doesn't matter that much, but she does profit a lot out of resolve because of her archetype. Now, Jae is by far the best skill checker in the game alongside Pasqal. So Jae is extremely good with skill checks with the build that I'm gonna give. She is proficient in everything, in tech use, in persuasion, in medic, Xenos, Imperium, coercion, commerce, demolition, logic. She's just absolutely great at skill checks, and that's a fact. Probably the best companion for that. Now, let's go to the archetypes and see what to do with Jae. Jae comes like this in default, so you cannot do much here. This is how it is with Jae Heydari. So you receive her with the Master tactician. So what we take on Jae? We take tactical advantage, okay, with press the advantage as a keystone, and then the first thing we're gonna learn is linchpin into reliance, upgrade for the linchpin. After that we get orchestrated firestorm into action points, power spike increase, into fellowship, then fellowship again, into against all odds. Then we're gonna take strong point. After that we're taking stronghold into lore Imperium, into ballistics, into better to die for the emperor, then the hidden advantage. Then we're gonna take lore Imperium into agility, then we're gonna get ulti upgrade number 2, then we're taking undisputed advantage into commerce, into agility, into grenadier for the free frags of course, then we're gonna take inspire, into unwavering motivation, into agility, into commerce, into nerves of steel, into agility, into it will not die for those extra hit points, wounds, and we finish off with ulti upgrade number 1. For the exemplar part with Jae, we're gonna take eager for battle. She is master tactician, she benefits a lot out of action points. This is a must as the very first upgrade. Then we're gonna take watch yourself, into Lord Xenos, into stacking the deck, into agility again through characteristic training. We raise that dodge to the max. Then we're gonna take care of authority, into Lord Xenos, into perfection under fire, into in the hero's footsteps. Then we're gonna take agility, then it's steady, into assign objective. Then we're gonna take ballistic skill, into primary objective, into ready to serve. Then we're taking commerce, into eager subordinates, into action points increase, into inspiring speech, lore Imperium, with lore Imperium, and still resolve. The bigger the resolve, the better for Jae. Support the advance, into fellowship, into perception, into commerce. Then we're taking the flag bearer with iron discipline. Then the joint offensive with coercion, inspire courage into training characteristic to perception, so we can hit more often. Get back in a fight would be the final skill that we're gonna learn, into ballistics, into firebrand, and then decisive response into action points increase for the final part, or better to say for Act 5. What items do we use on Jae? Any laser sniper, any laser rifle. Okay, and you're gonna switch between those two while you play. The best one that you got, that's the ones that you wanna equip. In this case, Deadly Repeteer and Tempest are absolutely great on Jae. For the helmet, we're gonna take Peripheral Visor, then we're gonna take Panoply of the Assassin for armor, dodge, dodge, and dodge, okay. For the trinkets, 10 to all skills with Data Loom, then we're gonna take Shadow Field, extra dodge. For the amulet, we're gonna take Chartist Pendant, extra skill checks. Then for gloves, we're taking Commander's Gloves, and the cape would be, of course, dodge, and boots would be Commissar Boots. Very simple build on Jae, and extremely powerful. How do we play Jae Heydari? Pretty much it's simple, okay? You want a voice of command on ally that you want to deal damage, you want to go with take aim, you want to go with linchpin, inspire, every single buff that you can apply, air of authority, and then tell an ally to bring enemies down with bring it down. Who you can use it to? Best to use it on Kibellah, Argenta, Cassia, basically companions that can deal damage. That's the combo, okay? Once that's gonna be immediately, basically, because she's got huge resolve. Ulti is available, you do the same combo again, okay? Apply all of that, and you pick up Finest Hour. When you wanna buff allies even further, you assign objective on the enemy with lowest HP bar, kill it with an ally, he takes huge buffs from the kill until the end of combat. Okay, that's how you play Jae. Also, once you buff up everything and so on, you always want to leave like 1 or 2 action points so you can shoot with Jae. How you do it? First you click press the advantage, and then you shoot and kill enemies, because she's also gonna deal a lot of damage. Jae is very, very simple to play, and she's extremely OP, especially with this build. The best part for Jae when you have her in her team are skill checks. You're never gonna fail skill checks with Jae. That's how she is. When she's very useful in a team, when you play with your main as a pyromancer or I don't know, any class that's not officer basically, then she becomes extremely useful because you always need an officer in your team. Is she better than Rogue Trader officer? No, but she does the role well. That would be it for Jae Heydari. In this case, we got Xenos Yrliet. Yrliet Sniper, Heydari Yrliet, color however you like. What are the most important characteristics on Yrliet? By far, it's the agility, into ballistics, into perception. Everything else doesn't matter. Those three are the most important. As far as the stats go, it's quite important that she has dodge reduction on top of big dodge. And that's the most important thing with the stats. About skill checks, we have awareness, demolition, and lore Xenos. And that's about it. Very simple. Yrliet is there to deal damage with her sniper, after all. Yrliet comes as an operative. We turn her into a bounty hunter, into exemplar. Operative, this is a default and how Yrliet looks like when you encounter her for the first time, so we can't change much here. But bounty hunter is where we can. So hunt down the prey, into claim the bounty, into claim and maim, into wild hunt ulti, into action point power spike increase, into ballistics, into it will not die. Then we're gonna take ballistics, into expert finesse, into call the bold, into flay the bold. Then we're gonna take lore Xenos, into agility, into Drukhari equipment, so she can carry Drukhari weapons. Then we're gonna take height and concentration, into demolition, into agility, ulti upgrade, wild hunt number 3. We are focusing on single target damage. With this ulti upgrade number 3 will turn Yrliet into a boss killer, but you can only do it if you mark one prey, which we do all the time because of itemization, but later about it. Pounce for the next one, then lore Xenos, then perception, into grenadier for the free frag, into raid, into kill squad, into perception, into awareness. Then we're gonna take withdraw, into characteristic training ballistics, and ulti upgrade number 1. After we're done with the bounty hunter, we go with the exemplar. For the exemplar, we start off with a death dealer, extra shot, very important, very powerful as well on Yrliet. Then we're gonna take sniper expertise into lore Xenos, then we're taking pierce the armor, agility, then characteristic training into agility. Then we're gonna take intimidation into lore Xenos, into critical velocity, into inspiring trophy. Then we're gonna take agility into weak body, weak soul, into hot on the trail. Then we're gonna take agility into trail and shatter, into characteristic perception. Then we're gonna take awareness into eager for battle for those extra action points. Then we're taking action point increase power spike, so this is huge action point increase power spike on Yrliet. Then we're gonna take Tides of Excellence into awareness, into instant exposure, into awareness again. Then we're taking catch into agility, into perception, into demolition. After that, we're taking know it all for the exemplar talent, extra crit, extra dodge. Then we're gonna take joint offense into share the spoils, into demolition, into informed hit, into characteristic training, into toughness, a bit extra wounds on Yrliet. Then we're gonna take the final skill and snare the prey for immobilization, into ballistics, into perfection under fire, into gruesome kill, and she finished off with action point power spike increase. And for the itemization on Yrliet, it's very simple. As far as weapons go, Eye of Hecaton is definitely the best laser sniper on Yrliet, and Wanderer's Portent. Also, you're gonna switch between two snipers non-stop, so you need those two basically. Also, the sniper with Drukhari damage is absolutely great. You can find it in Komora, before Komora. You can buy it from a trader. You got more of that on my trading guide. For the helmet, we take Outcast Visor. For armor, definitely Ardari Guardian Mesh Armor, the best armor for Yrliet in a game, by far. For trinkets, armor piercing ammo, there is nothing better on Yrliet. And we're gonna take Prey Scanner for your prey to hurt even more. You remember how we had 300% damage on Wild Hunt ulti? This marks the boss, cause boss usually in every encounter the toughest enemy. They got the biggest health pool. This marks them immediately. Whack ulti on a crit. She one-shots, guaranteed. For amulet, we're taking hypnotizing pendant. For gloves, you remember what I said about crits and ulti. This is double damage on crits, insta one-shots. Then for the cape, we're taking a backpack with armor, piercing ammo. And for boots, recoil war boots for the increased cover efficiency 40%. That's about it with Yrliet and itemization. As I said, very simple. Now how do we play Yrliet? She's a sniper, she should remain in one spot. Yeah. So how do we play Yrliet? Basically, you find the perfect spot, go over there, position with Yrliet, pick perfect spot, then analyze enemies, expose weakness, and shoot. Later on, when she's a bounty hunter, call the bolt, perfect spot, shoot, shoot again with claim the bounty, in my sights on an enemy to snipe them out, and the turn. That's about it. Mega late game, place the trap, pick an enemy with hot on the trail. If there's a lot of them, you're gonna do multiple preys with hunt down the prey, including hot on the trail, including the trap with ensnare the prey. Then you're gonna do perfect spot, analyze, shoot, claim the bounty, and finish off within my sights. Very simple to play. When you use wild hunt, when there's only one enemy that you want to target and you only put one hunt down the prey on the toughest enemy. Although the item that you've seen on Yrliet already provides that, okay? This one, prey scanner. So when you shoot with your ulti, you're gonna evaporate every single target. That's how simple Yrliet is. In this case, we got Space Wolf Ulfar, Space Marine, call him however you like. Ulfar is fixed from his shittier version in vanilla, where he felt like a scrub. Now he actually feels like a true Space Marine in Void Shadows DLC. He's extremely fun to play and one of the best companions right now, so from worst to best. What are the most important characteristics on Ulfar? By far, it's strength and toughness, and then it's ballistics and weapon skill. Everything else doesn't matter that much. As far as stats go, you need high deflection, you need high armor, you need high dodge, and you need maximum parry. That's what comes with his stats, basically, because he is extremely strong, but those would be the stats to pay attention to. As far as the skill checks go, he's extremely good at athletics, carouse, and that's about it. He's not there for skill checks, he is there for combat and to have fun during combat, playing as a space wolf. Now, let's check the archetypes. Ulfar is a soldier, arch-militant, exemplar. He comes like this, you can't change anything as far as the soldier part goes, but you can do a lot of stuff when leveling Arch-Militant. Once you find Ulfar in Act 3 in Komora, early part of Komora. So, we start off with versatility keystone feature and then bread and butter kick. Ulfar loves to kick enemies, he's extremely good at kicking enemies, so kick into upgraded kick with martial art. Then ulti, steady superiority, action point, power spike increase, into ballistics, into always ready, into toughness. We always take toughness whenever we can. Into wildfire, absolutely the best skill of the arch-militant, so basically you shoot for free. Into nimble, extra dodge, because Ulfar, if he doesn't dodge, he'll parry. If he doesn't dodge and parry, he'll use his armor and deflection to soak up damage. Insane character right now. He's got all three defenses at once. So, nimble into athletics, into broad expertise, into toughness again. Then we're gonna take grenadier, free frags, plus free shooting and so on. He plays multiple times during his round. Into arms master, then we're gonna take athletics, into toughness, into steady superiority, ulti upgrade number 1, into athletics, into flash fire, upgrade for the wildfire. Then we're gonna take toughness, into bolt weapon expert, because we're gonna play with a mini bolter, and with a big Astartes bolter. Then Reckless Rush, into All Out, into Strength, into Athletics, into Dependable, into Strength again into Strength, and Swift Movements, extra movement points. Ulfar needs extra movement points because he's gonna roam around the map a lot during combat. And Ulti, Steady Superiority, upgrade number 4. Then the true power spike comes with the Exemplar immediately, to be honest. At the moment when you take Perfection Under Fire, you're gonna feel it. Then is the Swift Slaughter, Revelin Slaughter, now takes only 2 kills. Then we're gonna take Carouse into Adaptability, into Toughness, into Brutal Hunter. Then Dash, extra movement on Ulfar, into Athletics, into probably the best Exemplar talent, that would be Toughest Steel. Now on top of dodge, if he doesn't dodge then he parries, if he doesn't dodge and parry then he soaks up damage, okay, with deflection and armor. Even when he receives damage, Toughest Steel will get him additional wounds that we're gonna merge together with flesh wounds to overheal non-stop on every round. So basically Ulfar becomes indestructible at this point. So Toughest Steel into Accustomed to Glory, into Toughness, into Fired Up, into Devastating Attack, then into Strength, then into Focal Point, then into Characteristic Training, into Toughness, then the Athletics. Then we're gonna go with a Peak Condition Exemplar talent where he transfers his already huge maximum wounds, 20%, goes into Strength, so when he hits with melee he's gonna hurt like crazy. Then we're gonna get the action point power spike increase into Enough Bullets for Everyone, into Carouse, into Muzzle Velocity, into Carouse again, critical versatility, into weapon skill, into ballistic skill, all offensive right now, into Carouse, and then the biggest power spike for him would be Flesh Wounds when he truly becomes unkillable. Basically, like in his lore, he cannot die in a lore, he cannot die in game as well. Tactical Disengage into Breaking Attack, upgrade for the Devastating Attack, into Carouse, into Discipline, we take Chain Weapon Expert, into Confident Approach, into Weapon Skill, into Eager for Battle, extra action points at the end for Ulfar, into Tenacity, and at the end we get action points power spike increase. Now if you feel like you don't need Perfection Under Fire, you can always switch Eager for Battle instead of Perfection Under Fire. So Eager for Battle will come as a first upgrade, while Perfection Under Fire will come as the last upgrade. Maybe I would even recommend switching those two, because action points are absolutely brutal on Ulfar, especially if you don't have an officer in your team. Then you're gonna need to take Eager for Battle. Now, that would be that with Ulfar leveling. Next thing would be itemization on Ulfar. He's using Space Marine gear. Okay, so it's very simple. Astartes Bolt Pistol and Fearsome Saga's X. There's a lot of X's and a lot of chain swords. You're gonna switch between those non-stop as you find better with bigger damage and bigger armor penetration. Those will be the ones that you wanna equip. For the second slot, Astartes Bolter, starting bolter, the best bolter by far for Ulfar. You can also go with a heavy bolter, but I recommend Astartes because it hurts more, because it has bigger crits, because of the bigger damage. Yeah. For the helmet, Emperor's Justice is absolutely great. Into Blood Craver armor that gives tons of deflection and armor. The Hellbrute Horn Trophy is the best item on Ulfar by far. And for the other one, we're gonna take Litany of Exhaustion. For Amulet, Defense of Cassia. For the gloves, Power Gloves Astartes, very simple, the best ones in the game for Ulfar. Shroud of Dauntlessness, definitely the best cloak because it provides temporary wounds, and by far my favorite boots in the game, especially this on Ulfar, is Astartes Power Boots. Kick deals additional damage and it costs 0 action points. You're gonna kick enemies left and right non-stop during combat. It's extremely fun and it deals tons of damage. And it provides stacks of versatility on Ulfar, because he is an arch-militant. Yeah, speaking about stats and versatility, how do we play Ulfar? Ulfar, at the start, is classic. Shoot at someone, get in close, use run and gun, whack them with a melee, switch, use rapid fire, revel in slaughter, fire with Astartes Bolter, okay, burst damage, and repeat. That would be the start. Once you get a Hellbrute Horn trophy, you want to use it non-stop, okay, at the start of combat, at the start of Ulfar's round, and do the combo again. Also, later on, when you get dash up to the nearest enemy, kick them for free, and deal tons of damage. Refresh all of your attacks with Wildfire, with Run and Gun, and continue attacking with basic attacks, single shot, melee swing, burst attack with Astartes Bolter, yeah. And if you cannot reach enemies, you always gonna open up with a Reckless Rush that gives him additional movement points so he can reach enemies. That's how simple it is. Now, which ulti to use? Steady Superiority or Firearm Mastery? If you are in the midst of battle, in front of enemies, okay, surrounded, in melee range and so on, you want to use Steady Superiority. If you cannot reach enemies, then you want to use Firearm Mastery, and you want to use Firearm Mastery on Astartes Bolter equipped, so you can shoot multiple times with Astartes Bolter. That's about it. Ulfar really feels strong. He feels great. He's finally fixed. This is a companion that's definitely behind Cassia and Pasqal in power right now. Absolutely great. I love Ulfar. He feels great. For the last companion that we're gonna receive in a game, it would be Marazhai, Drukhari Marazhai, Maniac Marazhai. Call him however you like. Pure evil, pure assassin. As far as characteristics go, the most important characteristic on Marazhai would be agility, and then its weapon skill, strength, and toughness, but agility being the primary one. As far as the flat stats go, you only care about dodge on Marazhai, and you want to max out parry on this build. I'll explain why later on. As far as the skill checks go, Marazhai is quite bad at skill checks. He is proficient in Lorg Xenos, Demolition, and Athletics, but compared to other companions, he is worse. Marazhai is there for lore, and he is there for combat. Marazhai is a warrior that becomes an assassin with Exemplar. Warrior, we can't change much, this is how he comes with in default, but for the assassin, we're gonna pick Sig the Opening, then Dance Macabre, into an Eye for the Unscated, into Dispatch, Ulti, Action Points Power Increase, Agility whenever we can, Lone Killer, into Agility again, then we're gonna take Athletics, into Elusive Shadow for extra dodge, then we're gonna take Seize the Advantage, into Weapon Skill, into Dual Weapon Combat, into Bringer of Doom, into Weapon Skill, into Athletics, then for the ulti Dispatch we take upgrade number 2, then we're gonna take Characteristic Training into Agility, into Ambush, into Perception, into Lorg Xenos. For the final skill in Assassin, we're gonna take that Whisper, and then we're gonna take Prey on the Weak into Elusive Speed, Lorg Xenos again, then we're taking Carmine Whisper, upgrade for the Death Whisper, then we're gonna take Strength into It Will Not Die, and we're gonna use Ulti Dispatch upgrade number 3 for the last one. Now we go for the Exemplar. As far as Exemplar goes on Marazhai, we're starting off with Know It All, extra percentage on every single stat there is, then into Shearing Strikes, then we're gonna take Athletics, into Morbid Pirouette, into Agility, into Swift Movements, then we're taking Sworn Enemy, into Athletics, into Perfection Under Fire, into Professional Acumen, then we take Agility, into Reckless Fury, into Poised to Strike, into Weapon Skill, then we're gonna take Flawless Lunge, into Grenadier for the free frag, then we're gonna take Demolition, into Eager for Battle, extra action points of course, and again, action points power spike increase on Marazhai, then Clenched Teeth, into Demolition, into Thick Skin, into Demolition again, into Deadly Calculation, into Toughness, then into Toughness, then into Demolition. Then we're gonna take Destroyer, into Ramming Speed, into Esquive, into Demolition, into Lethality Heightens, into Characteristic Training, into Weapon Skill, into Fainting Attack. We finish up with Toughness, Tricky Defense for extra dodge again, and perfect opening. Action point power spike increase for the last. What items do we use on Marazhai? In one slot it's gonna be a two-handed weapon, whichever one is the best with damage and armor penetration. In this case we use Wallbringer. And in the other slot we take light weapons, daggers, classic Drukhari weapons. The better the damage, the better the passive, that's the one you wanna take. In this case we're taking Blade of Irimeris. Once you kill Irimeris, this is the one she leaves, and the other one would be a classic bleeding blade. Blade that applies bleeding, okay, with huge damage and armor penetration, cause we want Marazhai to bleed enemies non-stop and scale out of it. For the helmet, Tactical Genius helmet. For armor, definitely Kabbalit armor of Cabal origin, the best one on Marazhai by far. For the trinkets, Blades Clone Field and Shadow Field. For amulet, Seeker of the Weak. For gloves, Exoskeletal, extra strength, extra toughness. For the cloak, Cloak of Bloodthirst. And for boots, Blitz boots. This is the mobile Marazhai. Agile Marazhai, Marazhai that goes in, kills someone and gets out with elusive. How do we play Marazhai? No matter what, you're gonna always open with Joyful Torture. After Joyful Torture, you're gonna pick an enemy, charge them, you're gonna go with aim for the opening, use the Death Whisper, use the basic attack, and finish off with Elusive Shadow. Once you have additional skill points later on in the game, you can go up in with a Dance Macabre for 3 hits, or with a Breakthrough for additional slash hits. Basically, what you wanna try to do with Marazhai is hit enemies as many times as you can where openings are, and you can hit like 5 or 6 times, no matter what combo you use, and then you wanna finish off with Elusive Shadow. Okay? And that's how you play Marazhai. In other words, I'll be honest, Marazhai is by far the weakest companion in the game, and he is the last companion that you can acquire in campaign, so it makes sense that he is the weakest. You only get to play him in Act 4. That is, if you haven't dispatched Marazhai or gave him to the Inquisition or something else, yeah. What is the good thing about Marazhai? He is a master at dodge, and he usually wastes enemy rounds because they try to hit him non-stop, and he just dodges through everything. With build that I gave, he also has triple time chance for parry. That's a lot. So he can parry 3 times per attack. In other words, he's very hard to kill. The last thing is, do we use Dispatch or Daring Breach on Marazhai? Definitely we use Daring Breach, because he deals way much more damage over time when he hits 5 to 10 times per round than when he hits once with a Dispatch. That will be it with Marazhai. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you on the next one. Thanks for watching.